analytics. He is the founder, the editor-in-chief, and head statistician for Football Outsiders. Please welcome back to the breakfast table, Aaron Schatz.
Yo! What's up?
Everybody!
Thank you.
Aaron, love having you on the show. Football Outsiders Almanac 2019 edition is officially out and finished. What are we looking forward to in this year's edition?
Well, as always, we've got the most accurate team projections, chapters on all 32 teams in the NFL with our usual witty writing, mix of analytics and scouting. We've got our Kubiak fantasy football projections for over 500 players. We've got a full preview of the whole college football season with write-ups on the top 50 teams and a lot of analytics and types of stats that you're not going to find anywhere else. 515 pages of team previews.
Wow. So you guys release projections based on every single NFL team statistical model. Tell us kind of what goes into those projections. Like how does that work?
Sure. So we do offense, defense, and special teams separately. There's a lot that goes into it. The quarterback in particular, coaching changes, personnel changes, how teams have played in certain situations over the last couple of years, what things tend to regress towards the mean from year to year. Then we take a range of possibilities of offense, defense, and special teams, and we simulate the season 1,000,000 times. And we get a range of possibilities. Every team, every team has a possibility of winning the Super Bowl. If they're Washington, that possibility may be like 0.1%.
Wow. Okay, I like it.
Hey, he threw a shot
If they're Atlanta, the possibility is better.
And his homework.
He did.
I picked up on that.
We get excited here at the table about all these teams that make big off-season moves, splash moves. You mentioned the coaching hires, but usually like free agent signings in March. Like, well, when they're going to the Super Bowl, you guys kind of pump the brakes on some of that and look at it big picture. What are some of the teams that the media might be hyping right now that you guys might be a little colder on?
One that didn't make a lot of moves and one that did. The one that didn't is the Chicago Bears, and I know you were just talking about Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell's going to really have to come on for the Bears to be really good this year, and here's the problem. Offense is much more consistent and predictable from year to year than defense is. And this is what led us last year to predict that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to fall apart because they were so dependent on their defense. If Chicago has only the 4th or 5th best defense instead of the number one, like one of the best defenses of all time, like they did last year, and they have the same offense that they had, that's a 7-9 team. That's not a team. The other one I would pump the brakes on a little bit is Cleveland. Obviously, they've added a lot of talent. We're big Baker Mayfield believers, big Odell Beckham believers, but there's a lot of reasons to believe that the defense is going to take a step back. They were very dependent on takeaways last year. So was Chicago, by the way. And takeaways tend to regress towards the mean very heavily on defense from year to year.
Okay. This thing is incredible. There's a quote from Drew McGarry on the back. That's good enough for me. I like that. I like you taking shots at D'Angelo. Sometimes we hype teams that don't get talked about a lot. Like their expectations are low, and when you do that, they go crazy. Do you have a team, Aaron, that maybe is beneath the radar that could overachieve this year, really win some games when they're not looking to be?
I think people are writing off the Pittsburgh Steelers way too quickly.
Interesting.
This is a team that has a ton of talent. They have a very, very strong pass rush. They've got obviously a good quarterback. They've got good receivers, even without Antonio Brown. A lot of people are talking about, no more Antonio Brown, no more Le'Veon Bell. Well, it's really just no more Antonio Brown. We've already seen what happens when there's no Le'Veon Bell. That's what happened last year. And this is a team that statistically was good enough to make the playoffs last year. They just didn't put it together at the right times to make enough wins to make it. But when you look at their overall performance, they were as good as the teams at the bottom of the playoffs. So this is a team that I think people are writing off way too quickly. The other thing about the Steelers, a lot of really strong continuity on the offensive line, which is a thing that people don't think about as much.
Okay. Aaron, the thing about you and this almanac and your algorithms is that you're right a lot. You're pretty accurate in these decisions. That's why it's so important, why I listen to everything that you say. You called a huge year for the Chargers. There they were at 12-4. You also predicted a Patriots-Saints Super Bowl using your analytics, and we came one call short of seeing that, of course. Who do you have in Miami Super Bowl this year?
Our pick for this year is the New Orleans Saints and the Los Angeles Chargers.
Wow.
That was my pick last year.
Hold
Drew
Saints,
Brees Bowl, huh?
The Drew Brees Bowl, yes.
Saints and Chargers.
Saints and Chargers. That is who we like this year.
Yeah, that's his pick this year, not last year.
Is my pick again this year?
Okay.
Oh, 100%.
Hey, but I got.
Well, they got a full year of Joey Bosa this year.
They do. I got one last prediction. Who wins the 2019 NFL MVP?
Well, here's the thing, man. It's always best to go with the quarterback with the best stats on a winning team. And as much as I like the Chargers and Saints as teams more,
Tell me.
The best quarterback in the league right now is Patrick Mahomes. Even if you drop 25% off that touchdown total from last year, he still leads the league in touchdowns. So he is the best MVP
back to
candidate.
back, huh? All right.
Back to back MVP candidate, absolutely. Patrick Mahomes.
Please pick up the Football Outsiders Almanac 2019. Aaron Schatz, everybody.
Good job,
Do you
Aaron.
like the stock image visor?
Absolutely. We'll take
We
it.
gotta
talked
keep.
about
You have to keep. You don't want to see the eyes of stock image players.
There's a
I'm
great
saying, but we love visors.
Bill Simmons, a book that any self-respecting NFL fan needs to purchase.
That's
There
it.
That says it. If you respect yourself, buy this
Respect
book.
yourself, kid.
Yeah, he got the
Respect
swag, right? He
yourself.
got the visor.
Great messaging.
It's
by
lovely.
you.
The AFC title game's going to be at the StubHub Center. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Let's go! I love it. I'm
I
done.
know the league is looking forward to that.
I know.
What the StubHub
Yeah,
Center
I
is
think
called
it's got
these
a new
days.
life.
It's called, got a new name now.
Is that true?
It's like
We love predictions. Aaron,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Again, come back anytime. We'll